Amy Stroud back in action.
How are you this morning?
I'm feeling great today. I'm excited for today.
I'm excited too. It's Wednesday, December the 28th. It is Call a Friend Day.
Okay.
It is National Card Playing Day. It is National Chocolate Candy Day.
Love it.
And it is Pledge of Allegiance Day.
All right.
So celebrate accordingly. It is also the day, as promised, that we have John Maggard on the show. John Maggard, good morning.
Good morning. Back again.
You are back again. It's been a long time, though, since you've been on the show. And, John, you are best known for being the host of Dial-A-Deal on our sister station, WTLO, 1480 AM. And you've had someone take over your Dial-A-Deal duties this morning just to be with us.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And there's a reason that you're with us this morning. And it's bittersweet in some ways, but I will let you tell everybody why you are on the show with us this morning.
Well, actually, this is my last week here at the radio station. I'm going to be retiring at the end of the year, December 30th, this Friday. And so you were kind enough to ask me to come over and be with you this morning. And I was a little hesitant at first.
No, not at all.
I didn't want to, make some kind of a big deal out of it. But
well, it is a big deal. We'll make it a big deal because you have been on the radio for a long time, and you've been the host of Dial-A-Deal for 7 years now?
Yeah, just a little over 7 years. I think it was in November 2009 when I started. So if my math is correct, that's a little over 7 years.
How did you get into the radio business? Was it something you always wanted to do, or did you just happen to stumble into the industry?
Well, I can't say that it was something I always wanted to do, but I've probably told the story before. When I was in high school, I played in the high school band, and I played drums, snare drum, which led to actually playing in a local band here in town. The typical what we call cover bands. Where you hear a song on the radio and you say, "Hey, I think we could do that."
Did your band have a name?
Yeah, I've been in several. I can't remember right now what. I think we were called the Living Sounds, I think was the name of the band.
Living Sounds.
When I was in it. But we actually got to go to a real recording studio. And once I walked in there and I saw that audio board, I had never been in a recording studio before. And I realized, I thought, that's how it's done. That's why records sound the way they sound. So I became just that. Got me interested. It's like, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be a recording engineer was really what I wanted to be. Being a DJ was as close as I got, but that's been a lot of fun, too.
And you actually were around when the records were spinning records, if you will.
Yeah,
you actually got to do that.
Yeah, you were truly a DJ, a disc jockey, because you continually queued records up. You had 2 turntables, and it was back in the day, when you were on the radio, whoever your announcer, board operator, whatever you wanted to call yourself, you did it all. And everything that got on the air was your responsibility. Of course, that's all changed with computers. Now you basically program a computer. But, we actually played 45 RPM records.
I remember when I first started here, I've probably known you the least amount of time of anyone in the building, so I feel like I'm learning things about you all the time. But someone showed me a picture of you in a band, and they said, "This is John Nelson," and I wasn't sure
who that was.
John Nelson. So you are known as John Nelson.
Yeah, well, Nelson is actually my middle name.
Yes.
So, but, how that started was the first job I ever had in radio was at WTLO. Now, I haven't been here all those years, but that was the first job in radio that I had. And I guess the day before I was supposed to go on, the program director, he said, "Have you ever considered having an on-air name?" And I said, "Well, no, I hadn't thought about it." He said, "How about this? Why don't you call yourself Johnny Angel?"
Johnny Angel.
Yeah. And
did you?
No, I did not. And so I had to think pretty quickly. So I said, "Well, my middle name's Nelson." He said, "Well, that's okay. That'll do." So there are a lot of people still remember me as just John Nelson, but that actually is my middle name. So
we're talking with John Maggard this morning. He is the host of Dial a Deal on WTLO, and he will be retiring this Friday from the radio business. And we'll talk more with John when we come back about Dial a Deal, some of his most memorable callers and the weirdest things sold, and some of John's most embarrassing radio moments.
Oh, boy.
We're talking with John Maggard, and we'll continue our conversation when we come back. You're listening to Mid Mornings with Amy, presented by the Mole Hole of Somerset. Welcome back. It is Wednesday, December the 28th, 8:44 in the morning, and we are talking with John Nelson, John Maggard, host of Dial a Deal on WTLO. And John, you are retiring on Friday from radio. Are you excited? How are you feeling right now, knowing that you've only got a couple of more days?
Yeah, it's kind of odd, and I think I began to realize this maybe a month ago. It's kind of like, this is going to be a transition. You know, when you've basically worked for someone else, all of your adult life.
Your time will be your own now.
They tell you when you've got to be there and what your responsibilities are, and so it's like, okay, now the self-discipline's got to kick in, and you got to make yourself get up and do what you need to do. But it's probably going to take me a while to readjust to it. But
now you are accustomed to getting up early. Dial a Deal starts at 7:30, but you were here long before that doing news and weather. Are you still going to get up that early?
Probably not, but it will take a while. It takes a while for your what do they call
internal
that?
Clock.
Your internal
Yes.
clock to readjust. So I'm sure that's going to take a while. But yeah, that's one of the things I'm kind of looking forward to is not having that alarm clock go off at about 3:45 each morning.
You have talked on the phone to hundreds of people in this community throughout your time on Dial a Deal, and a lot of those people call in every morning. So you've gotten familiar and to talking to a lot of people, sometimes on a daily basis. Do you have memorable callers that I know you'll miss all of them. You'll miss everybody who calls in, but any in particular throughout the years that you've either can't wait for them to call in or maybe not want them to call in?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to say that I didn't want them to call in, but of course there are some people. Personality is such an amazing thing, and we all have a somewhat different personality. But, of course, I think we've mentioned this before, but yeah, there's certain callers, the one that immediately comes to mind, and he's no longer with us, but Paul Woodall used to call. And Paul, I guess he had done this long before I hosted the program, but he wanted to be the first caller. And most of the time he was. But if you had, for example, when the program come on at 7:30, and you had more than one call coming in, you have to decide, what button you're going to push.
Which call to take. And if you took a call and it wasn't him, he would, of course, maybe be the next one. Now, he would say, I'm not mad, but he really got upset that he couldn't be the first caller every morning. And so, obviously, he comes to mind. But, there's certain folks, of course, as soon as you hear their voice, you immediately recognize. They don't have to tell you who they are. You know who they are immediately. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It really has. What about items sold on Dial a Deal? Dial a Deal is a buy-sell trade show. People call in items that they have for sale, or maybe mention items that they want to buy. What are some of the most weirdest, craziest, strangest things that people have had to sell?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, of course, you get call folks. Sometimes they will want to sell like a dog or something, and then sometimes they just want to give them away to a good home. But I do recall one lady called in, and I think sometimes, all depending on the telephone, it's sometimes hard to understand. Call might be a little muffled or whatever, but. She called in and she said, I don't remember exactly how she put it, but I think she said something like, I have a boa for sale. And then she went on and said a couple of other things. And I said, what was that first item? And she said, a boa? I said, like a snake? And she said, yes. And so that's probably about the strangest thing, at least that I can recall. Not strange, but strange to
Out of the
sell.
ordinary a little bit.
To sell on Dial-A-Deal,
sell a
yeah.
snake.
Yeah.
What are some of your most, do you have any embarrassing moments, things that have happened to you on the air,
Oh, goodness.
live on the air? Live embarrassing stories are the best.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Oh, I have. There's so many, it's hard to pick just one. But I think the most embarrassed that I ever was, and this goes back many years ago. Actually, it was at another station. It was not at WTLO. I had just gone to work there. I think I'd been there about a month. And that's when, as we were talking earlier, you know, you pretty much did everything. If you were on the air, most everything was live. You know, about the only thing that was pre-recorded would be commercials and that sort of thing. So, and you did the news and you did it live, and also sports. Now, this is back in the days of the teletype machine, which you probably don't. You've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Greg
But
probably
I've
remembers
never
it.
used.
Yeah, the
one.
AP printer.
Yeah. And this was this big, huge machine, and it continually typed. That's where all of your information came from. Everything, news, weather, sports, and everything. So, and the World Series was going on. Now, I was never a real big baseball fan. Of course, being from Kentucky, basketball's pretty much
Yes.
it, you know. And so, but with baseball, you're familiar at least with the pitchers. You hear their names mentioned over and over again. So in most cases, you at least have heard their name. So I'm doing a story, and for some reason the teletype machine I don't know if it got damaged somehow, but it was every time it would type the letter R, it would transpose that over the next letter. Now, in most cases, you could figure out what the word was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing a story about the World Series going on. I can't remember what teams were playing. I think one of them might have been like the Oakland A's. But anyway, I come and I said, and pitching for the Oakland A's, Vern. And I come to this word, and all I can see are the letters U-L-E. And I just stopped dead because I couldn't figure, like, what name could that be? And so I'm sitting there, and it's dead air. And, of course, this particular station had what they called an expander limiter. And when it senses that nothing is going on, it starts pulling the sound up. So I can hear this noise building in my headphones, and I think I've got to do something. I got to say something, or it's going to start feeding back here before long. So, of course, I've thought of that. I thought there's at least a dozen things I could have said. You know, I could have just admitted, it's like, folks, I'm sorry, but I don't know what this pitcher's name is, you know, and just gone on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sitting there, and this noise is building, and I said, Vern who? And then I tried to fix it. I tried to correct it. And the more I said, the worse it got. And I think I said, folks, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not that big of a baseball fan. And my face, I'm in the radio station by myself, and my face was just as red as it could be because I knew it was just getting worse and worse. And so
Couldn't stop yourself.
So no one else actually saw me, but I was really embarrassed for basically making a fool out of myself.
Did you ever figure out what his name was?
Rule.
Rule.
It was spelled R-H-U-L-E. And for some reason, I had never heard his name. You know, like I say, probably the pitcher on the other team, I knew who that was, but I couldn't figure it out.
You'll never forget his name now.
I'll never forget his name now. Now, interestingly, I bet Mike Tarter has probably never heard that story before, and he will get a kick out of that because Mike would have known exactly who it was.
So the pitcher's name was Vern Rule.
Yeah.
The Oakland A's.
Yeah.
Are they still a team anymore?
Well, I think so, but now he I think went on to be in maybe management in baseball or something. So he had a fairly long career, but I'll never forget his name.
Have you ever had anyone get mad at you on the air, live on the air, get really angry with you?
Let's see.
That you've had to either take another call or
Paul Woodall.
Well,
besides Paul, bless his heart. I've heard stories about Paul. He apparently had some anger concerns.
Yeah, he had some anger issues, but honestly, I can't recall anyone. People will get just a little short with you, but as far as just you can tell that they're really upset. I can't, other than him, I can't really remember anyone.
I have to tell you, John, when you retire on Friday, John Berlew here at the station will be taking your position as host of Dial-A-Deal, and we are live on the air right now on the show, and I can hear John Berlew through the glass talking. You can never be heard. You're always so quiet in the AM studio. Sometimes I'm not sure if you're here. Is John here? Is he in the building? Is he not here in the building?
I've had people tell me that. As a matter of fact, just maybe a year or so ago, so this was someone that didn't really know me, and I think someone told him, said, John is a radio announcer. And a guy looked at me and he said, do you really have the voice for that? Which kind of, because I do have a soft voice. And I said, well, probably not. I said, but there's this thing called a microphone,
exactly.
that makes you sound just as loud as everyone else, so.
We're talking with John Maggard this morning, host of Dial-A-Deal on WTLO. He'll be retiring on Friday, and we'll be right back with John. We've had a wonderful conversation this morning with John Maggard, host of Dial-A-Deal on WTLO. John, you're retiring Friday. Any retirement plans?
Well, I have several projects that, a couple of them I actually have to do. And then I've got some things, that I really want to work on. So,
and because of you, many of us now know who Vern Rule is from the Oakland Athletics, and they are still a team, by the way. Well, John, you've accomplished a lot in your career, and I think what you've been able to do is what I think every person on the air and radio wants to do, is make people feel like they know you even though they haven't met you. You have a lot of people who will miss you, and anything you want to say to our listeners. I know you'll say goodbye to your WTLO crowd on Friday, but last words to you.
Well, I just want to say that it's been a distinct pleasure working with two professionals like you and Greg Moore. So,
well, John, we will miss you, and you know where we are, so come back and see us.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you tomorrow.